Have you ever had one of those days where you just thought to yourself, there's no way I'm going to be able to find the positive in this situation or situations? Has life ever handed you lemons and you thought it's going to be impossible to make lemonade from this batch? Well, if that sounds like you, I'm going to share with you a couple stories from my day today, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to identify the positives in almost any situation. So, for quite some time, I've had an intuitive nudge about a certain situation in my life, and more recently, I received more of a download. And anytime something major comes in from spirit, I like to have it confirmed with a psychic reading. And at 7 a.m. this morning, that's exactly what I did. And what I asked the woman was, you can fill in the blanks. Was I mishandled as a child? And what I found out was that the answer was yes. And that my Catholic priest was the one behind it. And basically, I would tell my parents about this, and it would just be shrugged off, and I'd be forced to go back until I decided to climb up a tree and say I was no longer going back. And I've had all day to process this, and so many things in my life started to make sense, like why it was such a trigger for me anytime I felt like I wasn't being heard, or why I had such an underlying hatred towards pedophiles, and why I beat a guy down in my 20s to a bloody pulp after he called me one. And so all these things just started to make sense, and I came to realize that in this life, I don't really need anyone to hear me except myself and God, because that's all that really matters. And, I was fortunate enough to find out that this individual is no longer living, so I can put that to rest. But, the next thing that I found out was that, I've been working on my biography for 3 years. It came out last April 8th. And after almost a year, my publisher has only paid me $44. And I asked the woman today if that was a correct amount of sales. And because I knew that personally I had purchased half of those myself, and with the amount of people that have told me that they purchased my book, I knew that this was not correct. And so I asked her, what's the deal with that? And what I discovered was that, if you've been following me for a while, I started working with a shaman woman in 2015 that was sending me death spells that had her own son jump off a building. And she had indeed planted karmics into my life. And what had happened was, the woman responsible for dealing with my book abused her power, because indeed she was a karmic. And my book, if you've read it, it rubbed her the wrong way. And so, funds were swindled, and I found out that my book has actually sold hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, I've had all day to process that as well. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it sucks to receive $44 for something you've put so much hard work into. And, it's disheartening, I'm not going to lie, but I just had to remind myself that one of the reasons why I wrote my biography in the first place was to help people. And, at first I was a little distraught that I thought it wasn't selling, but now knowing that it's actually been selling all over the world, I know that my message has helped people out there. And I know that through my words and my story, I've helped save people's lives. And so I may not have been compensated financially for all the work I put in, but just knowing that I've helped people all over around the world is something that, I take great pride in. So the next time you have a bad day, just remember there's always a silver lining.